see how we can manage the new normal when it comes to digital going forward. So I'm looking forward to a very interesting discussion. We want to hear what your concerns are, and we'll do our best to try and answer them. Just a brief history of the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey, for those that are not aware. We are the second oldest British chamber overseas, established in 1887. So we've been here a long time. The first British chamber overseas was the French chamber, so we were beaten by a few months by that establishment. But we work with DIT. We provide B2B services here in Turkey. If you're probably not aware, you will also know, sorry, let me say that again. You may or may not be aware that Istanbul is also the regional hub for the regional responsibilities, which are the ECAN region, which cover most of Eastern Europe and Central Asia, including Turkey. And we also get involved in some of the activities in the ECAN region countries as well. So we're going to start with Colman, who will give us his overview from the Vodafone perspective on how digital transformation will add value going forward, and what companies need to do when they're starting to adapt to the new environment that we will be faced with post-COVID-19. So Colman, over to you.
Well, thank you, Chris, and hi, Chris. Hi, Tayfun. Pleasure to be on. Great pleasure to be asked to come and present to the members of the British Chamber of Commerce. I understand we have an audience both in Turkey and in UK, so good morning, good afternoon to everybody. These are really weird and wonderful times where I don't think in our lifetime, maybe going back, unless you're back to the 1940s, have we lived through something as disruptive, probably in day-to-day life, than what we're going through today with the pandemic. So it's really a moment in history, and we are, I think, overall doing very well to manage through it. So meetings like this would probably have been not even considered 3 or 4 months ago, are now daily part of our lives. We're doing webinars and meetings and virtual sessions, which is really, really a really new departure. So let me start with what happened from a business perspective, or even Vodafone 3 months ago. Clearly in Turkey, a little bit about Vodafone Turkey. We're the second largest mobile operator in Turkey, telecom operator. We have over 23 million mobile customers, 1 million fixed customers, both in consumer, B2C, and in business, B2B business, with companies and large and small all over the land. We effectively over a weekend moved everything from office-based working to home working, and we have been doing that ever since. Pretty much, in line with the whole society. And in Turkey, as you know, until the 1st of June, when things started to relax. However, we are still working from home 100%, and we will continue to do that most likely for the forthcoming while, until we see that the conditions are safe enough to return to full-time office working, if that even happens at all. So the interesting things that we've seen is that during that period, this 3-month period, productivity, instead of one thinking would go down, in fact, increased. So we saw huge spirit from our people, great collaboration, great empathy, great togetherness to fight this challenge, and it's come together really, really strongly. So of course, this could not be possible if it wasn't underlined or underpinned by technology, and the advancements we've seen in technology. Probably if this happened even 3 years ago, definitely 5, we would have seen a massive productivity shock in the whole world of commerce and in business, let's say office-based work. So the tools that have sprung up overnight, such as the one we're on, the platform we're on, Zoom, plenty of new areas and technologies, but these already existed. They're just now being used on a mass scale. And to do that, clearly in our business, we've seen unprecedented increase in the need for bandwidth, for increase in usage. Initially, our mobile usage increased 10%, our fixed line usage increased 50%, and that has tapered down a little, but still much higher than it was before the crisis. So what was our top priority? We had three priorities coming into the pandemic. First and foremost, obviously, was the health and the safety of our people, our workers, because it was a very challenging moment, and we were providing services that are critical for the economy and the ongoing communications. So we still were investing and had to maintain our services. So that required a lot of work to make sure that was done in a healthy and safe way. Secondly, and obviously the thinking of our customers and the ongoing services that they would stay going throughout. And I'm very pleased to say that we've come through this 3 months with no major impacts on service continuity or service provision. And if you think about that in terms of industrial scale, if you go through a 50% jump in demand in a matter of days, you know, how many industries would be able to accomplish that or manage that without some supply breakdown? So that was very a real credit to our ecosystem and our teams that worked to make that happen. And as an industry, we worked very hard together. And finally, Chris, we had a strong, you know, Vodafone Turkey is a team of not just the people that work directly for Vodafone, but we have a broad ecosystem of over 20,000 people. We had a lot of people, you know, with restrictions on social movement, on retail stores were closed, you know, intercity travel was curtailed. So it was important to keep our ecosystem together as much as we can, because we will emerge from this for sure, probably differently, but we will emerge in a way that we need to keep our ecosystem together. So there were the three sort of priorities. As we've moved through the process, we have sort of come to get used to the new normal. Of that big team we have, for example, we have over 4,000 people working with us in our call center operations. They are now all working from home, distributed all over the country, which heretofore were in call centers and you know, large office or large buildings. So this is one big dimension that has changed coming out of the COVID period. And as we think how this will evolve going forward, probably there are two or three things we can say that will change irrevocably, and work, and this will all be underpinned by digitalization and technology. So number one, we can say is work. The whole area of work will change. So do you need to be fixed location as much anymore? Do you need as much office space anymore? Because we have proven in the last 3 months that you can work remotely, work together, use platforms like Zoom, Teams, whatever, and be as productive or even more productive on average. And that's what we've seen in all parts of our business, whether it's in the technology end, the customer care end, the sales end, our digital sales through our digital channels, the web, our app, they have increased significantly. And overall, we haven't lost a beat in terms of our momentum, commercial momentum. So that's the first thing, the sort of the work environment as we think about this. Secondly, clearly as people moved to the home and there were restrictions, the area of entertainment was important. So how to deliver new areas, whether in gaming, whether in content. This was more and more challenging, of course, as sports live sporting events were curtailed. So trying to bring new areas, but we've seen a big jump in things like gaming. You will have seen a couple of weeks ago and Turkey is a very hot area for gaming. You will have seen the acquisition by Zynga of Peak Games in Turkey. You know, in our customers, we've seen a massive jump in using gaming and entertainment services like that. For example, those high-end, let's say, games like produced by Peak Games, we have 2 million users. There's over 30 million out of 80 million population, 30 million gamers in Turkey at different levels of sophistication of gaming, of course. But even with the high end, like you see around the world, the next generation gaming, there's even 2 million of our customers engaged in that. So this is a huge opportunity. This is where Turkey has an edge. We can come on to that a little bit more later, but the whole game area of entertainment has focused our minds. How can we, in the post-COVID world, and more probably home-based, spending more time at home, how can we make that experience better or encourage people or entertain people in that new world? You'll have seen also the shift to education and in healthcare. We worked very closely with the government, the Turkish government, on providing support for the EBA platform, the public education platform. And then with the healthcare, we worked with the health ministry to develop the app along with the other industry players for the track and trace, which is now being rolled out. You see that used a lot now. And I can come on talk a little bit about that later, but that has been a big shift in what we've seen from before. So a question I get asked a lot is that if this virus ends, will we all go back to the normal? Probably not. And the reason for that is that now we didn't plan for COVID, obviously, that's very clear. But even when we did, we could survive, and we have developed tools and opportunities to work with that. That will improve. So the quality, the experience of these new ways of working, these new ways of educating, these new ways of entertainment, they will improve once we focus on this, because technology moves so fast now and has such a great range of improvement that we're very confident that this will be a new way of doing things. So the experiences, may have been a bit clunky, it may have been a bit awkward, but this will improve and will get better and better. So people will be more and more encouraged to do so as we progress, and it will be easier. And the last point I would sort of talk for now, we talked a little bit about the overall environment. Of course, the government role in the whole pandemic and how we dealt with it was very, very crucial. And digitalization is at the fundamental of all this. I really want to say that, digital is each telco in the world, and very much so at Vodafone, digitalization, we have moved from being digital first to digital only. That's the language we're now talking about. We want to make as much as possible interactions. It's safer. The experience can be better for the customer in terms of payment, in terms of we're delivering goods, in terms or products and services, in terms of how people will get used to it. So this is a definite acceleration, not just in the consumer but also in the business. And a big part of what we will do in the future as well is digitalizing businesses in Turkey, particularly around small, medium enterprises, because they have obviously encountered, which is the heartbeat or the backbone of the Turkish economy. This will be a massive accelerator. The COVID period will be a massive accelerator, and we're seeing that already in terms of solutions around the Internet of Things, in terms of digital marketing, in terms of new products and services. This will become important. And the final point I'll make for now is around the government. The role of the government is critical because we will need to improve a number of things, and it was very encouraging to see already the Turkish government passed a law during the week in Parliament enabling digitalization, easier digitalization One great success of the government, I think, in Turkey has been the e-Devlet platform. Some of the numbers are staggering. There have been over 500 million transactions on that platform since the start of the pandemic. Now 2/3 of the population are using it, has over 5,000 applications or services. So this has been a great success. We need to take that and expand it into all walks of life, into all products and services. And the last point I would make, which is specific to the telco sector, this is, you can only carry the products and services as good as the infrastructure. So we need to continue to invest in infrastructure. We need a good infrastructure regime, whether it be fiber or microwave technologies. These are evolving fast as well, but it's important to have a good regime, regulatory and public policy regime that supports that, because that will build the digital Turkey for the future. So I will leave it there as opening comments. There's a lot to talk about. We could talk forever, but that's how we've been thinking about this in the last 3 months.
Colman, thank you. I mean, great to hear that. And yeah, I think what you may have gathered there is that you know, Turkey is advancing very quickly in terms of its digital capability, and you know, something that, as far as UK companies are concerned, you know, there's tremendous opportunity here to get involved in that growth in technology and digitalization in Turkey, which I'm sure Tayfun will talk about going forward. But you know, there's a great deal has happened, as we well know, and it's very clear that, you know, when we're working with SMEs, and both in Turkey and in UK, you know, there has to be a clear roadmap in terms of how SMEs can engage digitally, not just within the respective markets, but also globally. So there's a lot to be done there, and we expect governments our respective governments to, you know, put their hand in their pocket to move that forward. Something that I believe is currently going on anyway, but I think it'll have to move at pace in order to catch up in the future from where we are now. So we'll probably say a few words about that in the later sessions. So if I could just hand over to Tayfun now, and Tayfun will give you the benefit of his vast knowledge of the technology sector and how it relates to Turkey and the UK. Tayfun, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you to all the attendees for giving us this time. First, let me perhaps share a few numbers to give the scope of what we're talking about in Turkey. It may be familiar for the attendees from Turkey, but perhaps a little refresher, especially for the attendees from the outside of Turkey. I mean, we're roughly talking about a $800 billion overall economy, you know, depending on the foreign exchange rate. Of that, around 50% of the economy is in and around Istanbul. Okay, so Istanbul has a very significant part in the Turkish economy. And within that 800 billion economy, the key international sectors, you know, in terms of export capabilities, are sectors like automotive, textiles, chemicals, tourism. Okay, these are the areas where you see strong Turkish companies, evolved and large size and what have you. And these are probably the first candidates, if you like, in terms of benefiting from technology capabilities. And in that context, the Turkish ICT market, if you like, you know, information technologies and communication market is overall 26.8 billion end of 2019. So we are roughly talking around 30 billion, if you like, rounded figure, 30 billion ICT activity in Turkey. Of that, with the 2019, end of 2019 numbers, 17 billion is coming from telecommunication, and 9.9, just under 10 billion, is coming from IT. If you look at this in comparison to developed markets, typically the IT portion is almost as big as the telecom portion in developed markets. So Turkey is a little bit behind in terms of IT usage, right? And if you further break it down, the 17 billion on the communication side is roughly 5.3 billion in hardware, telecommunication hardware, and 11.7 billion in telecommunication services. And similarly, on the IT side, of the 26 billion, a significant portion is in software and hardware, and less on the services side. Okay, and the Turkish ICT sector is providing about just over $1 billion worth of export, and around 80% of that is in software. And of that 1 billion, just over 1 billion export in ICT, 80% is going to Europe. So that's a significant portion, just to give you a kind of overall idea. And when we talk about the digital opportunities in the Turkish market, like Colman mentioned, I think there are significant opportunities for both local companies and for companies from UK in terms of the consumer market in Turkey, because we're talking about 80+ million people. It's a significant size country. Of that 80 billion, half of that population is under 30. So if you take the countries as typically, if the age group is under roughly 40 to 45, then you have a consuming market. If the age group is above 40 to 45, typically you have a saving market. So Turkey is a significant consumer market in that sense, with a young population. And because of that, we see, for example, e-government usage is very active, because young population are, in fact, most of them are, if you like, very close to new digital technologies. For example, gaming is a big market in Turkey. Video streaming is a big market in Turkey. Social media is a big market in Turkey, because these are all in relation to the demographics structure and also the size of the population. This is one element to look at, the consumer side. On the business side, as I said, the large companies, typically the large companies in Turkey, are either utilizing digital technologies or are planning to utilize significantly, especially in the last few years. And I'm sure the last 3 months we lived through vis-a-vis the COVID situation is going to act as a catalyst to speed up this process. Now, in terms of the maturity of the companies as to where they stand in the digital technology usage, you can literally see 3 levels. I mean, the first level, maturity level, and this is equally valid for other markets, by the way. The first level is when you digitize your data. So you try to put all your manual information, whether they are on paper or in physical files. The first level is digitizing your data. That's a significant maturity level. The next layer is when you digitalize your key processes in the companies, sales process, manufacturing process, operations, procurement process. That's the digitalization level. And the third level, the mostly aspired level, is, if you like, is the digital transformation level. And when you talk about digital transformation, we are literally talking about a major transformation of the company in terms of how you develop your product, how you deliver your product, how you address your customer and the market, or how you do your procurement, okay? So if you take these three levels into context, the Turkish market, especially vis-a-vis the large and medium companies, and especially the companies in and around Istanbul, being the most significant commercial and manufacturing hub, if you like, most of them are at level 1 or 2. Either they are kind of digitizing their data still, or digitalizing their processes. There's a lot of opportunity in terms of digital transformation at the higher level. In terms of the percentages, perhaps, or the size of this implementation, there's a huge opportunity in Turkey with the SMEs. I think SMEs have been lagging behind in terms of adoption of digital technologies. Medium-sized companies are in the middle, literally, but most of the technology adoption in a competitive sense, in an international sense, is happening with large companies, because most of them are essentially open to other markets, so they have to be competitive in international terms. So this is just to give you an overall idea. Just to add perhaps a few more sentences, there is a significant base in Turkey in terms of engineering and mathematical and computer science education. We have a lot of strong regionally recognized universities, so quite a number of resources in terms of technoparks and in terms of software capability in Turkey for cooperation with UK companies, because the government in Turkey is providing a lot of taxation and social spending support for startups and entities taking part in software business. So this may be another area to keep in mind. So let me stop here, Chris, and then we'll go as the platform requires.
Okay, Tayfun, thank you for that. And again, very interesting, a lot of big numbers there. I mean, just, to also analyze, some of the changes that we've experienced during this, this COVID pandemic, and it's not over yet by any means. I mean, what we've seen in Turkey and, from my experience in UK as well, and probably globally, lots of people, because they've had no choice really, have had to go online, to purchase products, to have home deliveries, which a lot of consumers probably never thought about doing before. But it was a situation where they had to move to that technology to provide the essential goods that they needed, and to do shopping as well. So the people that have now tried online shopping and found it to be efficient and trustworthy, the convenience of having home deliveries, it's my belief, and I think my colleagues will share this belief, that many consumers will not go back to traditional ways of shopping, and will stay with the digital facilities that are now available online. And this is something I think companies will have to seriously think about when it comes to their products, which are normally going through traditional retail, and how they can adapt to what will be a bigger proportion of consumers actually using online purchasing. I mean, we're seeing the high streets already beginning to suffer for economic reasons in UK and other countries, and with the COVID-19, I think that's accelerated that. So that's another area that we really have to think about, and particularly SMEs, how they adapt to this new way of consumerism, and how they purchase their products. So something you may be able to touch on as we go forward. And just a question for Colman when he comes into his next session. Do you think there'll be consolidation in the tech sector globally?
Well, I think whether there'll be consolidation, but there'll certainly be a big shift, a faster shift to digitalization. Just to pick up on your last point, Chris, I think companies who are maybe focused on one channel, if it was sales, whether it was retail or you know, door to door or physical distribution, I think you're absolutely right. You know, of course, it won't become 100% digital and zero retail, but the balance will change significantly going forward. So to every company out there, maybe you're a bit behind in digital, but you can't afford to be anymore, because you will lose you will close off an opportunity or a market, a route to market that is now will become as significant, or probably even more. As I said, we've moved from digital first to digital only. So this is the mindset of the larger companies, and this will trickle down. So the quicker you change your strategies, you change your game plans to be ready to accommodate that, I think the more prosperous and successful you will be coming out of the period, the pandemic period. The other thing to realize is that, you know, the facilitation now, you know, the speed at which technology is moving is still incredibly fast. I mean, I remember having a discussion with a few years ago in San Francisco with a venture capital investor, a large one, and listening to him, and the point he made was, as long as Moore's law holds, so this is the cost of compute power, which halves or doubles, whichever way you look at the equation, every 18 months. As long as that holds, technology will still become more and more progressive and more into our lives, because the computers will be bigger, they will be faster, they will have more memory, they will become more cognitive, they will become more you know, AI driven. We will move up the value stack from doing basic processes to more value-added processes and more value-added things. So this is I don't think there's anything yet. Maybe there will be a change in how the world operates, whether with a break in supply chains or whatnot coming out of this. But that trend, nobody has so far. If anything, if you look at the value of companies, and I'll come on to your question, whose value has increased and whose value has decreased through this pandemic, it's the big tech companies in the world have increased their valuation after a shock, let's say in March and early April. But there's been a massive correction, and people understand very well that large tech will continue to prevail, and because the underlying factors are still more favorable, i.e. the Moore's law. So that trend will probably be clear. And then if you add to that the changes in societal behavior, working conditions, working from home, educating from home, healthcare from home, which were probably niche areas or very, very remote, these will become our way of doing business. You will still may need to go to a doctor's surgery or to a hospital, but maybe 30-40% of your processes or procedures can be done from your living room, your bedroom. Why not? Because the technology will be able to deliver that. And as I said about experience, because customer experience is very, very important, the digital experience around all these ways of doing things will improve significantly, because the focus will come to make it a better working from home experience, to make it a better healthcare experience, to make it a better entertainment experience. So we're pretty confident that will be a continuing trend. To go to the question about consolidation and what will happen, who knows? I don't think we have a view on that one way or the other. But what will be clear, you will see, and you see a lot of the tech investments, where the big up to now it was a lot in automotive, driverless cars, etc. Maybe there will be a change in the direction of where the money will flow. That can be a change. How that gets done, or will it be done by company A, B, or Z, that may be different. But if you remember, maybe up to a year ago, it was, we need automotive driverless cars, Uberization. In fact, it may be other areas like healthcare, like business, digitalizing, helping business digitalize itself, SMEs. We're working a lot now with SMEs, whether it's smart thermometers, or when you want heat sensors, whether it's asset tracking, whether it's security, cloud solutions. The cloud will be very, very important because it's a very cheap way to digitalize and store all your data. Tayfun mentioned about how that happens. I mean, as you get cloud providers, driving down the cost of computing, the cost of storing it in a cloud versus in a physical form or in a in a warehouse or somewhere, that will become inevitable because it'll be just more efficient and more flexible if you want to change things. So this is going to probably be, I think, the change in direction. Who does it or how it gets done, I think that will play out over a period of time. It's not clear, but certainly there may be a change in the focus or the direction of where the investments will go.
Thank you, Colin. That's very interesting. I mean, one point you were making there, that as we go forward and as these, in my consumer days, channelization and specialization, will we see new tech companies sort of specializing in say healthcare or other areas that have now come to the surface throh COVID?
I'm sure that will be the trend. I mean, so if we were to bring this back to Turkey, we think, Turkey there are three areas which historically Turkey has been strong, but this is actually, with good government policies and good support, this is a massive opportunity for Turkey, we think, because, supply chains may evolve to be closer to the markets. So could Turkey be a beneficiary because of on the doorstep of the European Union? That's one area. So manufacturing is a big opportunity, but to do that, automation, which there is some great already work being done, and we work on things like edge computing and mobile private networks. I mean, Turkish companies are at the front of that innovation in the work environment, in the manufacturing environment. I think IT is a massive area of opportunity. There's many strong ICT sector in Turkey, thousands of engineers. This is also, you may recall the recent program to make 1 million software engineers. This is a huge opportunity because you now don't need to be physically. If you follow Twitter, he said, Jack Dorsey said, never come back to the office again. Well, okay, go do that from Izmir. Wouldn't that be a nice thing? You could be a Twitter programmer working in Izmir with the sun shining and eating boyos every day if you wanted. That would be a very nice way to evolve, or even think of another sector, maybe technology. There's some great local technology companies, but what's important is, there will still be an international element to this. We will still need to transfer technology abroad or sell technology or IT skills abroad. So we will need to have a good environment that companies will want to come and invest, or Turkish companies will go abroad and be successful, and probably with different operating models. But for sure, there is a big opportunity here.
Thank you, Colman. Great stuff. We have a couple of questions on our Q&A, which are both directed to you, which we'll come to a little later, but we will answer them. Moving on to Tayfun now. I mean, Tayfun, you've been deeply involved in consultancy on startups, digital startups in Turkey, and also you now have a presence in UK, working with in the Northern Powerhouse region. Can you, give us a feel of how things are developing in terms of information technology, exchange of ideas and capability, and what the appetite for Turkish companies to invest in UK and vice versa?
Absolutely, absolutely. But first, let me share some numbers before answering your question. Let me just quickly share some numbers to what Colman just mentioned. E-commerce is a significant area in Turkey. By end of 2019, the total e-commerce volume in Turkey was just under $15 billion. Compound growth over the last 5 years was 13%. And that 15 billion is roughly divided between 5.4 billion in straightforward e-commerce, 2.5 is omni-channel, like kind of click and collect, 2.5 billion. Interestingly, $5.3 billion in travel and holiday booking, and finally $1.4 billion is online gaming related spending. Okay, that's kind of the breakdown of the e-commerce. Now coming back to the startups entrepreneurial scenery, there is a strong entrepreneurial environment in Turkey supported by government incentives. We have something like just over 80 technoparks in Turkey, most of them under a university structure. Out of that 80, I would put around 10 of them to be at European standard, European level. You have 3 of them in Istanbul, a couple of them in Ankara, and again a couple in Izmir. These top 10 technoparks are producing a fair number of startups that are at European or US level, if you like, right? And in fact, I see companies in the order of perhaps 50 to 100 every year, startups mature enough to be competitive in top markets like UK and US in a number of areas, quite a lot of areas. More recently, we are seeing companies in artificial intelligence, data analytics, virtual reality. More recently, we are seeing local startups having presence in the international markets vis-a-vis, for example, blockchain. Okay, so, and when we look at the aspirations of these companies in terms of moving somewhere else or looking into another market, typically, most of them see US as a kind of leading market, but because of distance and because of the competitive nature, it's not that practical and that's not easy to establish over there. Now, in Europe today, definitely UK is the top market. I mean, UK and more specifically London is the leading aspiration among the startup companies in Turkey in terms of growth, where they can move and establish themselves beyond the Turkish borders, if you like. And a very productive combination I see is when these startups have the front end establishment in a UK address. Okay, and like you mentioned, I've been trying to convince quite a few of them to look at other regions other than London, for example, Northern Powerhouse in the Northwest or Midlands around Birmingham. So a very good working combination is to have the front end setup, the customer relations, marketing, sales from a UK presence, and have the kitchen, if you like, the operational presence in Turkey at the beginning at least, because the Turkish government through the technoparks, because of the amount of incentives given, is creating a significant competitiveness point. So I would definitely see that relationship growing in the future.
Right, there we go. Yeah, I mean, what we advocate as the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey, when we've got UK companies looking to enter the market in Turkey, what we advise is the first step should be to identify a good partner in Turkey. That's the best way of getting into the market. And we at BCCT help UK companies to identify the right partner. We help with the due diligence, make sure that the company that they're interested in working with are the right match. And that's worked extremely well.
Chris, if I can just jump in there. I mean, when we talk about picking a partner in Turkey, it's not only for business in Turkey, because Turkey also has a significant regional presence. Maybe you can perhaps mention that point as well. You can reach from Turkey into other markets in the vicinity.
No, absolutely, Tayfun, and I'll come on to that point in a second. And given that model that we recommend, it works both ways. So the opportunity for say a Turkish startup that's coming to UK, the opportunity to work with a UK partner, to share their respective innovation, would also be a model that I think could be of mutual benefit. So what I'm saying to our the people on the call from Turkey and UK, that's a model that could work quite well, and it's another way of speeding up that transition in digital, where you bring two organisations together that have got the capabilities in as you said, in terms of the kitchen and in terms of the UK exposure. So that's definitely something of an opportunity. I think the point that you made, I mean, Turkey, and I think I made this point when I made the introduction, Turkey is now a regional hub for the ECAN region, and that ECAN region consists of all of Central Asia, the Eastern Europe, Russia, Moldova, Belarus, Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia. There's about 14 countries in this region, and having a Turkish partner who has a presence in those markets, and not just in the regional markets, but also in the other markets that Turkey has a long tradition of dealing with, in North Africa and the Middle East. So, if you can find a good partner in Turkey that also has access to the markets in the region, that gives you, another piece of added value that saves you from making individual opportunities in these markets. You've got a partner who will pave the way to enter those markets for you. So, as I say, these are all major opportunities that we see both for UK and Turkey going forward. Now we're coming to Q&A. I just want to read a couple of questions addressed to Colman. A very polite one there to Mr. Deegan. Today we heard the new shareholder of Turkcell talk about inorganic growth, possibly in tech and content. Does Voda have a similar strategy?
Well, we certainly have a strategy to be digital only and to push into digitalization. Clearly, as we look into where the areas that will mean, I talked about the home, entertainment, security, areas that we're investing today, digitalizing business, whether that's around the cloud or working with partners. So we've, as a Vodafone group, we've already made some investments, inorganic investments in this area, with working with smaller partners. We made one in Greece, South Africa, and these are around IoT companies. So the crucial thing, Chris, here is about in a large company like Vodafone is having scalability. So whatever you do, we need to be able to scale it up and invent it once but deploy it many times. So that's a critical question always as we think through our products and services pipeline. How could we scale these things up to make them what I sell in Turkey, I can sell in Germany, sell in Ireland, or sell in Africa. So that's a critical one. So of course, if we see opportunities that fit into our strategy, the first, what we like to do, we like to partner with companies. So let's come and see how it works. I think in the old days, there was always this fear that the big company would gobble up the small company and kill the culture or the innovation. I don't think that's the case anymore. We've grown, we've matured, and we understand what we need to do in the digital world to make it successful. And that is building a common platform approach, and then load onto that platform products and services that can be sold in many, many countries. So we need to foster innovation. We need to work with people who we can grow mutually successful, maybe sometimes to partners, with small partners. I would invite you all to in the old days, I would have been inviting you to the Vodafone Smart Lab at Istanbul Technical University, where we have strong collaborations with over 35 Turkish companies, all in the areas of in IoT, in many, many verticals, farming, transport, energy conservation, many, many different areas. I'm even doing a disservice to leave them out. So whether we end up, if it makes sense, would Vodafone acquire? I don't think we would be afraid to do that as a Vodafone group, but really it's trying to find the right product service that can be scaled and can be sold all over the world. And to do that, we look at many options. And as I said, in Turkey, we've been partnering a lot, so we like that. We like that too. We've grown enough to know that we don't have to own it, because we want to keep that. We want to keep that strong partnership ethos, but also the idea of innovation and incubation. This is important to really get the best customer product and service and experience.
Thank you, Colman. Sorry, you've got another one here, but it's relation to smart cities and how COVID-19 will affect digitalization of municipality services or smart city projects and metropolitan, smaller size municipalities in Turkey, such as mobility, virtual tourism, utilities, etc. What would be Vodafone's role and involvement in any of these projects? And there's a thank you to one of our colleagues in DIT trade, that's Başak Toka, who is very much involved in the smart cities projects. And just to put that in context to some extent, before COVID-19, BCCT and DIT have been working closely together on providing support in terms of smart cities and how to get cities like Istanbul and Izmir and Ankara up to speed on smart cities. And there's a lot of work being done within those cities with government support that we are engaged with. But back to the question, is Vodafone engaged in that?
Yes, very much so. So thanks for the question. So smart cities cities themselves. I have almost 4 years in Turkey, Chris. I used to spend a lot of time traveling around. I think I must have met 30, 40 mayors or been in the ability of different cities. Obviously the big ones, Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, but also in Anatolia. On top of the agenda, everywhere I went and met with mayors and governors was the whole digitalization of their cities, making their cities ready for the future. And we worked a lot. I think we have a great relationship with Bursa municipality, just to pick and we've trialed a lot of smart city initiatives, refuge management, energy management. These were always the things. Going forward, probably, again, there will be a shift. You know, if you look at now, there'll be heat scanning, and because of the current pandemic, how we can make sure that the population is safe and, you know, alert to the risks that are out there. So we will see more and more push into this area, but also things, traffic management, asset management. These are important things because, you know, in the current environment as well, the municipalities really need to focus, or are focusing on, the bottom line as well, to be able, there's less and less money to provide more and more services. So they're becoming more and more efficient in how, or want to become more efficient in how they manage the assets of the municipalities. So definitely an area, and I have to give credit to the municipalities of Turkey. I remember being in one in particular, and there was a screen. It was like being in, reminded me of being in our network operations center, a massive screen of the whole city, tracking, you know, traffic jams and areas where, you know, the lights weren't working, traffic lights weren't working. It was a very, very sophisticated tool. This is maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So there has already been a very strong emphasis on this area by the municipalities. It will grow. We will, again, like, because of the COVID, maybe the emphasis or the focus may change, or it will evolve. I'm sure of that, to meet the needs of the society, of the people who live in the municipalities. But for sure, it's an ongoing theme: the digitalization of government and the digitalization of cities.
Thank you, Colman. And just to add to that, I mean, we have a couple of UK companies who are very much in that space, working with smart cities and particularly Istanbul. So, you know, we already have engagement there, and I'm sure we'll be happy to share, you know, some of that information offline. And I think it's Andrew Giles who's asked the question. If he wants to contact us, we can probably add a bit more. Sorry, not Andrew Giles, that's another one. Yeah, the previous person that asked the question about smart cities, if they want to contact us, we could probably share a bit more information. And yeah, sorry, Andrew Giles is something of a question that I may be able to answer, and then I'll get on to the more specialist area. My business is predominantly works with FMCG manufacturers to deliver IoT software solutions for digital manufacturing. I would like to understand the scale of FMCG manufacturing market in Turkey and its digital maturity. It's a big question, and you know, there's lots of information that has to be shared there, which again we can take some of it offline. But you know, just to give a relatively quick overview. I mean, my people used to call it the day job before I retired from Coca-Cola. I worked for Coca-Cola for almost 20 years in this part of the world, so I know a little bit about FMCG. If you look at Istanbul in terms of a hub for many multinational FMCG companies, and just to give you an example of Coca-Cola, I mean, the regional hub here was responsible for 90 countries, which stretch from non-EU Europe, Central Asia, Middle East, Africa, across to Pakistan. And obviously digital was, you know, fundamental to, you know, that efficient operation and engagement with that number of markets. And if you look at other FMCG companies like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, also on the technology side, you've got Microsoft and also Vodafone, who you know, are also responsible for more countries than just Turkey. So there's yeah, the FMCG sector in Turkey is very, very strong, and you know, the companies that I've mentioned are not newcomers to Turkey. You know, they've been here for a long, long time, and I think I can assure you that the digital maturity is well advanced within FMCG. It may not be there, you know, 100% as nobody is, but and there probably are opportunities in terms of advancing that. But if I could just go to again a quick comment from Tayfun and Colman on that, and as I say, it's a big question, and there are some numbers that you probably require, and we can handle that offline if you want to contact us. Thank you. Tayfun, do you want to quick comment on that?
I mean, from my days of BT management, I know that companies, global companies like Procter & Gamble, in addition to what you mentioned about Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, leading FMCG companies have significant operations and presence in Turkey, mostly headquarters out of Istanbul. They have manufacturing in Turkey. They have distribution centers in Turkey. And just to give you an idea, as BT, we used to provide the data linkage of their operation to their headquarters in UK. I'm sure similar operations are taking place also with Vodafone. So, and all of this is related to 2 points. One, the Turkish market is a young consuming market, and also Turkey, in terms of positioning, is at if you like, at a stone throwing distance to quite a number of adjacent and promising markets.
Okay, Colman, a quick word.
I would think FMCG is no different to any other sector. Everybody is focused on digitalization. We work a lot with the big ones here. Also, there's some very fine local Turkish FMCG companies, exporting goods all over the world, very much at the front of digitalization. So in terms of procurement, for example, smart farming, how you can get better yield. We're working with some great products there that will help to increase yield and quality. So there are, that's just one example, but there are the whole sort of FMCG production world is moving very fast because again, there is a lot of pressure around the bottom line. We need to be more efficient, need to be more productive, and this is a definite trend. So yes, Turkey is a rich market, as Tayfun said, 80 million people. It's a consuming market. It's a strong demand market. So it's definitely worth looking at for sure.
I know for IoT, two significant areas are manufacturing and digital cities.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also supply chain as well. I mean, that's going to be an even more critical area for companies, particularly in FMCG, who have a regional or a large geographical area that they're responsible for. I mean, just to add one last point here, because I think we're running to the end of our time, is when Colman talked about very strong Turkish companies, I mean, Uğur Group, which are the biggest confectionery manufacturer in Turkey, and you may or may not be aware that Uğur Group own Godiva, the premium Belgian chocolate company that has a global presence, and in the last I think 4 or 5 years ago, Uğur bought United Biscuits in UK, the Macvidis brand, and others, and now have an office, a UK office, which is a UK company called Pladis, based in London, and Pladis is responsible for Uğur's global brands. So they're responsible for Godiva, for United Biscuits brands, and other brands that they purchase, not in UK, but also in US. So
Hobnobs, yeah. Chris.
Sorry?
Hobnobs.
Hobnobs, yeah. for that push of Uğur, I hope to get boxes of hobnobs delivered to my home. Not going to happen, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of Turkish companies, whether it be automotive, whether it be chemicals and FMCG that are extremely strong and have an international presence. And if you look at, just to add another one, Koch Group on white goods, who are the owner of the Beko brand, and I'm sure our UK members will be aware that, or may have, a Beko washing machine or refrigerator in UK. They are the I think the second in market share in UK, and a big presence not just in UK but also in Europe. So some very strong organisations when you look at the major players, and obviously there's plenty of opportunity and room when you look at how they're managing their supply chains across their global geography, and how they want to improve their efficiencies and their bottom line, as Colman made reference to. So please let us know if you're in that space, and we're happy to. We have strong contacts with all those companies, and we're happy to explore some opportunities. So I think we can bring that to a close now. If there are any other questions, please contact us by email, and we'll try to ask them to our best of our ability. But I just want to wish you all good health and stay safe, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.